Hey guys, we are here in the booth at Createx Colors putting the last coat, the finishing touch of our Wicked Charcoal Metallic. That's going to be the top color for a two-tone that I'm going to do with Steve Van Diemen, so check it out.
Hi, this is Steve Van Diemen here, Createx Colors in Connecticut, laying out some graphics on a truck here, as you can see. Just kind of wanted to point out a couple aspects of how I approach doing graphics on a vehicle. I've always told people that what you want to accomplish is make something look like it's moving while it's sitting still. That's kind of what your goal is when you're doing this kind of thing. It's a lot different than if you're working on something that's static, something that's going to hang on a wall or something in an art gallery or in someone's home or something like that. It doesn't necessarily matter, but when you're working on a vehicle, you want to make that vehicle look like it's moving. And it's always good to make it look like it's moving fast. And the way you can accomplish that is by taking the graphics and tapering them towards the back. Start with some bulk in the front, taper towards the back. You never want to start thin in the back and get bigger towards, or I'm sorry, never want to start thin in the front and get bigger in the back. That'll have the opposite effect. Another thing is, as you can see, this is obviously a flame job. Whether you're doing flames or any other type of graphic, it's a good idea to have things taper to a very sharp point. Long, slow tapers are a lot better than having it taper quickly and come to a blunt edge. It was explained to me years and years ago that when you do it like this and you have these sharp, long, sharp tapers, they just look a lot more menacing. They look, like they can actually cut through you, as opposed to like a blunt edge where it looks like it's just gonna kind of stop and not cause any damage. It's almost like you want it to look like it can hurt you. You want it to look menacing and aggressive, all those different adjectives, like that. And I always try to accomplish that, and a lot of times, I see people kind of do the opposite. So I try to kind of explain that when people are asking me about like my own approach to this stuff. And for some reason, over the years, I've become kind of known for the whole graphic thing on vehicles, and that's a pretty cool thing. I appreciate that, and I appreciate that people like it, and I've had to kind of come up with, reasons why people might be drawn to it, in one way or another. And so those are some of the things that I've kind of figured out on my own. Is that stuff where you just create movement, and stuff like that. Okay, so now we're going to make a pattern of this beautiful layout that Chris put on his truck. Right, Chris?
Right.
There you go, that's good enough. So we're just using regular masking paper. Tape it over the top, just make sure you cover the whole thing. So next thing we're going to do is just take some lead that we cut out of a pencil, and we're going to rub along the paper on top of that tape to create an etching, like so. Okay, so now that we've got the pounce pattern etched out, Chris is going to do the pouncing of it with the pounce wheel, and that way we can transfer the image on the other side using chalk. But while he's pouncing that, we're going to mask this with the transfer paper, and I'll be cutting this out and getting it ready to spray. Okay, should be good right there. Okay. Yeah, you're good like that. So now I'm just cutting out over the tape through the transfer paper, but not through the 1/8" tape. Trying not to anyway. That's the ideal situation. Sometimes it's kind of hard to see, as you can tell right here. I'm trying to peel it out. And it's a good idea when you're doing this, peel it as you go. I'm going to be moving back on you. Peel it as you go, because if you cut the whole thing out with the knife and then go to peel it and then figure out you didn't cut deep enough, that is a fun thing, because that just means you got to do it all over again. So what I do, again, is I'll cut sections and I'll peel them out as I go. And also that addresses the fact that sometimes your blade will get dull and your blade's not cutting as well anymore and time to get a new blade. So as you can see, I'll just peel it out as I go, just like that.
Hey guys, we are outside the booth. Steve is taping up the rest of the pattern. This is the pattern that we just made, so I'm going to go ahead and use a little pounce wheel and ride the lines of this pattern, and it's going to perforate it, make little holes in it, so then we can use the chalk to transfer this image to the other side. So we'll have a perfect mirror image of the graphic that we laid out. Okay, so here we go. This is the wheel right here. This is the pounce wheel we're talking about. And what Steve wants me to do is stay to the inside. You can see the width of this chalk or the pencil rubbing, right? It's an 1/8 inch. So he wants me to stay to the inside of the graphic. So he knows when he lays his tape, it's going to be on the inside of that line going to the outside. So that's something to keep in mind when you guys are doing something, instead of making sure you're consistent with how you basically cut your perforations here. I'm doing this on a piece of plywood, so it makes it a little bit easier for the wheel to make a penetration. You don't want to tear the paper. You want a nice, small, clean hole so you can use the chalk to transfer this image.
So just about done cutting this out. Just this last little lick here. So there you go. Now that it's all opened up, you can see the contrast of the paper up against the color of the truck itself. So now you can get a good, good glimpse of how it's going to look and see the flow where it tapers back, so you're creating that movement that I always try to get. And you can see how each one of those flame licks tapers down really sharp, long and sharp. That's kind of what you want to accomplish. So now we got our pounce pattern all made. We're going to put it on the opposite side of the truck using our guidelines. Shape it up there. Looks good right there. Go back a tiny bit, pull it a tiny bit tight. Just a tiny bit. There, that should be good. That looks good.
Hey, it lines up.
It lines up.
It lines up.
So now you take a chalk bag, basically just a rolled up piece of t-shirt with some chalk chalk in it, and just pat it on the surface and just rub it along the lines of the pattern, like so. I'll just do this little section back here, and then you can see the lines of the flames. There you go, that's what you want to do. Now I'm going to have Chris do the rest. Yippee! Have fun, Chris.
Hey guys, welcome back. I am just going ahead and basically what we call skirting the rest of the truck, everything that wasn't covered by the transfer paper. Steve is cutting out the other side, and I'm just going to go ahead and basically minimize the amount of covering we got to do. We're using 36-inch paper. It's a big truck, so we got to just drop everything as close as we can to the floor to minimize underspray, and then do the top to minimize overspray. All right, we got everything is completely taped off, backmasked, all wiped down, tacked, ready to go. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a taped pinstripe on this. So we're going to do that first color, the stripe color, is going to get sprayed. And rather than just kind of use an airbrush and ride the edge, we're going to have overspray on the inside. It'll be just as fast to just go and spray the entire thing. So then we'll come back and put fine line tape over that to give us a pinstripe. So for that, we're going to use actually a mixture of metallic white fine and our wicked silver. So it's going to be a light silver, nice contrast up against the charcoal. But because of the fact that it's pretty transparent, I'm going to put a coat of opaque white first to just kind of fill this in and let that color pop. So I should be able to really just do 2 coats and we'll have total coverage. So I'm going to get the booth running and we'll spray our first coat. All right guys, booth is running and I'm going to spray my first coat of white. All right, guys, we are back. The white is dry, so that was wicked opaque white, and you can see it filled really quick, and that was just enough to kind of block out that charcoal color, because this color, like I mentioned, is kind of transparent. It's a mix of our wicked fine, wicked white fine, and our wicked silver. So I mixed that 1-to-1, and then I added about 25%, so 4-to-1 with 40-50, 10% reducer. So I'm just going to go ahead and dust this on. This is kind of just giving us like a pearl white stripe.
So what I've done here is I've done a tape stripe on here for those of you who aren't accomplished pinstripers. So what you can do is spray the color of your pinstripe and then basically just back tape it with either 1/8 inch or 16th, whatever the heck you're going for. On here we're going 1/8 because it's a big truck. Tape that off, and then when you spray the color inside here, you have a perfect pinstripe. Voila, all done. When you peel it up, you'll see. So now what we're going to do, now that we got the orange tape on there, is I'm going to take this 1/4 inch and just basically cover the edge of where the orange meets the paper. And the reason for that is to eliminate the possibility of, if we missed any of the gaps, having the flame color hit that and give us little slivers of color. So this is the best way to avoid that. And that's all you need to do. And you don't need to be real careful with this. You just need to make sure that you cover that little point where they meet, just like that.
All right, guys, we are back. Booth is running. We got everything kind of back taped and taped up like Steve talked about. Everything's nice and tight and clean. And we are going to apply the base color for the flames now, and that is actually just our wicked pearl red. So same deal, mix right around 20-25% with 40-50. And this is it. We're going to just basically cover one nice even coat, and then I'll come back and do a second coat. And I'm really just going to kind of concentrate more on the middle of the flames. We're trying to minimize the edge build, so I'm not going to really hammer the edges because we have a darker color to kind of fade the flame. So really more concerned, kind of like I sprayed the white, just to get some coverage, take a look at it afterwards to see how it looks, and maybe come back with like a second, like a half coat. So here we go. Okay guys, we are in the booth and Steve is applying basically just a darkened mixture of that pearl red that we already applied for the base color. So he's just going through, just kind of riding that tape line and darkening the edges of the licks with a modified red. It's kind of more maroon. All right, guys, we're in the booth. The booth is running. We got this all taped off again. One more time. This is the last step in the two-tone. So for more in-depth coverage of the murdered candy technique, you can check out another video that we do have. It's me doing like a half tank on our YouTube channel. But I'll give you the quick rundown. It's going to be red flake with some candy over a black base, and we're going to do a little candy black over that. Kind of washes out that whole effect. So it's crucial for that first step. It's got to be over black. So this is just wicked opaque black. Just one coat is going to be enough to cover this. And then we'll move on to the next step. Hi guys, back in the booth. Base coat is totally dry. That was only one coat, and it doesn't need more than that. So there's no reason to start hammering material on just to cover, because you're just going to build a bigger tape edge. So one coat, totally dry. Now is on to the actual part of the application, the flake. So if you've seen the other video that I referenced, the color that we're using is Hot Rod Sparkle Red, and the Hot Rod Sparkle Red is a little bit more on a fuchsia side. It's like a magenta flake. So I really want that rich, bright red. So what I did was I added a little bit of Candy Blood Red to this mix. So I mixed Candy Blood Red with our 40-50, about 4-to-1, and then I added my Hot Rod Sparkle. And that's gonna just kind of richen up that flake a little bit more, push it a little more deep, and just kind of richen that color up. So if you're using the other colors that we have, you really don't need to. It's just the red. I really want that punchy, bright red. So this is being sprayed like flake. I'm not trying to be super crazy overlap in my pass. I'm just trying to put the flake on, make it look nice and easy. So really one coat should be all I need, and that's just kind of up to you guys really how you apply it. So this is what that looks like. Okay guys, there you go. That's what it looks like with all the flake on it. So that is totally dry, and again, that's key to all of our paints. I mention this all the time in videos. The best results you're gonna get is making sure every coat, everything is dry to the touch between each coat. So this is the last and final step of the process, and this is the application of our Candy Black. This is kind of tricky because you wanna get this thing blacked out, but not to the point of making it opaque. And it is very easy to do with Candy Black. You know, you kind of hit that fine line where one more coat is going to push it over and you're really going to kind of mute everything. So we want this to appear black, but when it's out in the sun, it's going to light up. So I have my candy mixed 4-to-1 with our 40-50, so 4 parts 40-50 to 1 part Candy Black. And I'm basically just going to be still mindful of my overlap and my passes and my distance, but I'm trying to just kind of spray this like I would a guide coat, like if I was blocking out a car. It's just to kind of fog out and push back this red till it looks black and basically stop. So it's really important, you know, do a coat, walk away from it and come back and check it. All right, guys, welcome back. Steve, like we said before, unfortunately had to leave, and he left me with finishing the rest of this. So basically what we have right now is we went ahead and taped up the jams. I sprayed color back in the jams to match the rest of the truck. We have our graphics continuing on into the jams. It's pretty simple, straightforward, basically a pointer, a tip that Steve also told me as well is just try to keep everything as straight as you can, linear, when you work into the jams. Just so when you close the doors, you don't have something going down or up. Everything looks really good and actually looks really tight once the doors were on. I had to put the doors back on to kind of line everything up and make sure we got the lines in the right spots. So again, it's just that much better of a job when you have the opportunity to do something like this, and we're going this far, so we figured we might as well go into the jam. So the doors will be the same exact way, back sides of the doors and all that. So again, I keep harping on this product as well, but I really like it. We do get questions quite a bit about what clear I've been using. You guys know I used to use PPG quite a bit. I'm a PPG sprayer, basically, before I started working here. I am really impressed and really just really floored, basically, how well this product works. I've sprayed a lot of clears. I've been spraying this for about a little over a year now, and I've had really good results. I like how it flows. I like how it sprays. I like how crisp it looks, how clean it is. Very easy to use. It's got a great sprayability attribute to it, and it also has a great buffability, which is also something super important. There's a few other clears I used to use, and they sprayed amazing, but when it came time to sand and buff, it was like buffing iron, you know, so keep that in mind. Really happy with this. This is their C800. I'm spraying this with a slow activator. Again, I'm in a booth, so I have controlled air movement in here. I prefer a slower clear just so I have more time to keep a wet edge, make sure everything nice and falls in line, and basically all that overspray kind of melts in. And it just gives a little more time for this to flow and move a bit before it starts to tack up. So obviously for that, you're going to wait a little bit longer between coats. But again, this is a great product. Have really good results with it. Really good. It's 2-to-1, pretty straightforward, no reducer. So even when a flow coat, when we clear this again, there's no solvent in there that's really going to kind of reactivate or re-wet the clear underneath, and that's also sometimes problematic. So we're going to go ahead and get the booth running. I'm going to get suited up, and we'll start spraying some clear. All right, guys, we are here at the point of kind of wrapping up this project. So we just wanted to give you guys a quick glimpse of where we are, what it looks like, kind of half assembled here in terms of the finished product. We still got a lot of work to do. We still got to basically sand this entire truck down one more time. We got a first round of clear on everything. We got to sand it all down and basically flow coat it, re-clear it, right? Make sure everything is gone. All these edges are nice and smooth, and really get this clear looking nice and deep and rich. But this is pretty much what the finished product is. So the owner has a lot of work to do. We're still going to do a project on the roof as well, and we'll do a video on that later on. That's probably not going to happen until the springtime, but then we'll be able to have some finished shots in terms of what it's going to look like 100% done. New interior, a lot of stuff going on, so it's going to be really cool. So real quick, I just kind of want to recap on everything that we did. Basically, you saw everything that we did was fine line tape, and we were actually using, I didn't mention in the video, a large majority of the masking products that we used were from Mirka. If you saw, we did a little Instagram video kind of before when we were working on this truck, me sanding it. We've used their dustless sanding system for quite a while now. Really good results. Their sandpapers, all their abrasives, come a long way. Really quality, really impressed with the quality of what they have, and they have new masking products. So all the fine line tape that we use on this was the 1/8 inch, their orange Mirka fine line. It's a poly vinyl style tape. Excellent tape, had really good results, really happy with it, so really cool stuff. You guys can find this stuff online, and you can also find it in Spray Gunner. Our friends at Spray Gunner are a distributor for Mirka products. And the top coat, basically the final on this, American Icon. Again, I mentioned in the video before I started clearing, C800 clear. This is my clear of choice. It has been now for about a year since I got my hands on this stuff. Really happy with it. Really, really super stoked in terms of the results and what we can do and how it buffs and how it sprays. It's just great product. So again, big shout to Steve Van Diemen. Thanks for coming out here and giving me a hand with this. It was awesome working with him. I've been friends with Steve for a while, and he never ceases to amaze me and entertain me. So hopefully you guys dug this video. Thanks for checking us out, and we'll see you guys soon with kind of a recap and another project on that hood. So for Createx Colors, Steve Van Diemen, I'm Chris Arpin. We'll see you guys next time.